Hello everyone, welcome back to the another episode of the Tech Guy podcast, episode number 9 I think. Today we have two topics which are small. This episode is going to be much more uh, in length terms of smaller, but we do have two topics this week we are going to discuss about. One of them is threads, and they're talking about the custom phase and how that is definitely like I'm talking about my experience and how it is changing its feed. And then the second topic is about blue sky. Also we are talking about why so many of majority of people, like millions of users, are like coming towards blue sky in the span of like a month this year or this month. So these are the two topics we are going to discuss in these are the only two topics we are discuss in this episode of the Tech Guy podcast. So let's just get started. So I think first of all, I think we should start with the simple one, that is the threads. It is like, for majority of you, I think it is not much of a big deal, but people who use, I don't know how many of people does use threads on regular basis. I personally do use threads, especially threads like social media, like threads, Twitter, even blue sky. I am blue sky user like past 6 months I think. Yeah, even before this whole uh, user base increasing, people are just coming to use blue sky. I was before that. Even I am on Mastodon too. So I love this kind of social media apps like Twitter based, like threads. Like, the reason why I love this is because it is way too much interactive than the Instagram. Like, you can way too much more interact with people, with the topics you like, with the topics you want to engaged in. And it doesn't have that kind of a much kind of a like setbacks, like when, especially when compares to Instagram, which is a photo based app. Even though it has a large base of user base all over the world, it is one of the biggest social media app, but still it lacks the the user interaction that is on the topic specifically, I will say. The reason why I will say is but just because, yeah, like, people, majority of the people on Instagram nowadays are spending time on their watching reels. And you know, like, much more people are conscious like about posting stuff on Instagram because it's a photos app. People want to look good. Like, there are lots of that is a totally different social media app experience. And I'm not downscaling that or anything, but I'm just trying to say, both Instagram and threads like Twitter, Mastodon, blue sky are totally different apps, social media experiences. So much more I am on the Twitter, threads, blue sky, what is majority on going on in the communities that you like to follow. Yeah, it is like live updates, much more faster than, you can say, I believe that is Instagram. So uh, when threads came out, I think last year, it has been more than 1 year. So I think lots of people did know that the threads is much kind of similar, like just like Twitter, it is like a ripoff. The positive thing about threads is that it it doesn't push, like what happened on Twitter, like over the last two periods, I think, is like happening is because, especially last 1 year, is what is happening on Twitter of like giving people so much authority about having a free speech, and making the environment toxic. So the reason I was using threads, even though I have Twitter, even though Twitter has larger communities, much more active communities, is because it doesn't involve that kind of toxic people on the internet, you can say, on threads. But last week, threads did an amazing update that I want to talk about in this episode, that is the custom feeds. So if you are not familiarized with the custom feed, what I will say is, if you haven't if you have been using blue sky, it is much more similar to that. You know what custom feed does in threads is basically lets you customize your own feed. That is basically before threads, like before this update, threads didn't have a uh, threads didn't like threads even didn't have a for you or even like a following page. Then they added a for you and following page, then they again removed it. So if you use a Twitter, if you are a Twitter user, or have you used Twitter for past year, you can see that on Twitter there is two sections, that is following and following. So for you and following, the for you feed is basically a general feed that is according to you, whatever the topics you like. They gave you the post related to those topics. The following page is where the only people you follow, you will see those posts. Like these are two the separate feeds, you can say these feeds, that these are two different feeds that you are consuming on different. Like following page is the people you follow, for you page same on threads did happen, but last week they announced a new update, that is custom feeds. So what does custom feed does? Custom feed allows as a user to you to make your own feed, that is like for you, like following. You can name that feed whatever you like. So for an example, let's say you want a feed, just you want a feed where you want to just see the topics related to the tech industry. Okay, so then you can create, now go to threads, and after going to threads you can create your own custom feeds and name it, let's say tech. And and in that feed, whatever the people you want to follow that post about tech, or whatever the news, news update, accounts you want to follow, like Verge does around tech too, like 9 to 5 Mac, 9 to 5 Google. There are lots of tech accounts on threads too. So if you want to see these specific those accounts only on that tech feed, you can choose those account and add those to that specific tech feed. And that will basically let you know that the tech is basically your own custom feed now, that is only feeding you the specific accounts, post that you want to see, and that is specifically that your region, that your specific, um, you can say your specific uh, taste, whatever you like. So this is what a custom feed on threads. But they have taken it one step further, and I think that is what is really makes good. you know so now whenever you make your own custom feed on threads, it's not just select by topics only. you know you can select accounts, like say if you want to see post, whatever they post on daily basis of the specific accounts. Like let's say you want to see those, you want to see the accounts by specific accounts by tech influencers, you know like people who post about tech videos, or people about traveling, like uh, travel influencers, or even like say politicians. Like you can make your own specific feed about specific politicians you wanna see their threads post, that is specific on that specific feed only. So it's not just that it is, you can create your own custom feed by just topics. It is, you can make your own custom feed by people that you want to see. Let's say I'm creating a specific let's say I'm creating a specific feed about politics. Then when I'm creating my own feed, I can now select the people, not just the topic. I can now select the people that I want to see their post on that specific thread. So it is much more customizable, you know from the naming system, from the topic system, and even to the point where it is accounts, the specific accounts. Like heck, you can, I think you can make even a specific thread that you see, you have to see that one person's, your friend post that, whatever he posts that on that feed. Okay, so this is has become what is meant by custom feed on threads. That is what I really like. I have one custom feed that is now tech, that whatever the tech accounts that gives the news, especially the big publishers like Verge, 9 to 5 Mag. Then there are like specific accounts that gives thread on threads that gives you, you know uh, that gives you information about what is happening on live, or sometimes, so it is really really, you can say, up to like a good way to, as a user, as it is a good way to spend time on social media. Because what is happening on, before that, what was happening on threads or even on Twitter, majority of the time, like about from 100% time, 80% of my time was being wasted on accounts I don't want to see, and 20% was the people I like and their post. Yeah, because on Twitter, sorry, on threads, it was majorly the memes that was being fed to me, even though I have specifically like tech feeds, I have specifically known to that. And then on Twitter, it is just on Twitter, it is just become an uh, like views farming, you know like whatever the accounts that I want to see about tech, it is not happening there too. It has more push towards politics, it has more push towards the accounts I don't want to engage. The reason why I think that was happening is because those platform supports, like threads don't want to support more politics, so they were feeding me just memes, and the accounts that are getting engaged just on random topics. And on thread, and on Twitter, it is feeding me about much more politics, because in the name of free speech. But also, they are not feeding me the type of things like they like about tech, about the people I follow majority of the time. you know Most of the time on Twitter, whatever I do now is, specifically on for you page, or sorry, on following page, I am not able to see the accounts that have been followed, and I want to see their post, and I'm not able to see their, their post, their replies on my for you page. Like, rather than that, I'm seeing that in my for you page. you know I don't know why. So it has become much more chaotic for the past month on the social media app. And when threads bought this specific custom feed, I was really really happy about it, and I was really really like, that is what I really wanted, as a user. Because Blue Sky have this particular custom feed, you can say, about a specific topic for the, like, from the start only. So if you are a Blue Sky user now, or if you are not Blue Sky user, in Blue Sky, what you can do is, like, there are custom feeds already. So let's say you love about photography, you love about astronomy. There are feeds on Blue Sky that only post on that specific feed about astronomy, that only feed about, only about, you can say, photography. So it is kind of, you can say, you know you have custom feeds already there too for past couple of months. But this, what threads have done it, is much much more customizable, much more easy for, as a user who uses the social media apps, and this specific threads, like social media app on daily basis. Because I love to use these apps, because I am much more kind of an interactive guy on the social media platform, especially like threads, Twitter. So I love these custom threads new update, and I hope Twitter also bring this. Because for the, like, past 2 weeks, like last week and this week, I'm using the like custom feeds on threads, and I'm definitely enjoying it. you know I'm much more enjoying my time on threads, much more than Twitter. Yeah. And specifically, I'm not even using Twitter on, like, on daily basis. Like, I will be using Twitter like 1 or 2 days gap, and majority of the time is by spent on threads and Blue Sky most of the time. So I hope Twitter also bring these custom feeds that I really want them to bring it. And and just like I hope it does get better there, because if this kind of like continues, like there are lots of difficult issues on Twitter. But if they just try getting better, at least in in user experience, I hope they do it. Because if they don't, I think in future I'm not using much more Twitter than in future. I'm much more be using much more threads, and much more be using much more like blue sky, you can say. So I hope it happens, and I would love to have that same specific custom feed on Twitter too. So yeah, this was a update I wanna definitely talk about. I think definitely you should guys also try it if you are on threads, and if you love what uh if you love to if you want to see specific topics, you want to engage more into the community. Because like one of the great examples I had in my mind is like whenever there are specific events, especially Olympics, and you want to create a thread about just like, oh, okay, I want to know what is happening in that specific Olympics. you know like even I can create Olympics and specific Olympic, and create, like, name it like Olympic volleyball, Olympic football, or even FIFA football, like when especially eventual type, whenever there are events, like especially big sports, and you want to be updated because you are not watching it all the time, and you want to update all the news, you can create your own custom feed. Yeah, naming, like, let's say in football you are like, okay, FIFA and specific team, you wanna, like, in that, and you can just follow those people, follow those accounts, and you want to stay up to date, and just you can go directly on Twitter and just like see those specific posts without any, like, interference by other posts from the other accounts. Like it can be become much more, it can be much more be useful, especially like events, like, let's say, like whenever there is events like in our tech, there are WWDC by Apple, there are, in next month there is, uh, I think there will be Samsung event, Galaxy event, you know so whenever those events happen, I can create specific custom threads about that event, so I can don't miss any news, any updates around those specific events. It can be really useful as an custom threads on that. So I hope this gets much more smaller updates that I want to have. For now it is great. So I hope custom feeds is being used by universally. I hope custom feed is also on Twitter. I hope custom feed also gets on Instagram too. you know the reason I much more don't use Instagram much don't use Instagram that much is just because it has been too much, like past 1 week what is happening on Instagram is also like confusing to me, because majority of the time on my Instagram is goes on DMs, whatever the reels that has been given in my DM by my friends, and that's it, and couple of stories that I watch. I don't even scroll down through the post and just go back to the work. But whenever I go to Instagram, like past week, the first post that the Instagram feed me was a post, like on my main page. The first post that Instagram feed me was the account that I don't follow. First of all, I don't know why they feed me. I don't know why Instagram didn't push the accounts I follow first. I don't know why Instagram didn't give the priority to the people I follow first in my own feed only. Why am I seeing the that post about the random meme page on my account? So it's been really confusing there too. So so this is all about threads and its custom feeds. Okay, now we can move on to the next topics, that is I want to talk about like is much more kind of a personal take, but yeah, why there are so many users like going from Twitter, especially Twitter, to threads, and let's discuss that thing. So okay, continuing on why Blue Sky is having so much uh, attraction or so much user base getting involved on Blue Sky. So I I think I will start from the basics. I do wanna cover up the whole thing. I do wanna give you the full context of it because I don't think most of the people are on Twitter. I don't think most of the people knows the whole thing. I think let's talk about the much more from the basics, and we will get to the stage what we are right now. So if you don't know, Elon Musk owns the Twitter. He bought it 2 years ago, I think, right now. Yeah. uh, Elon Musk bought Twitter. He owns it. It starts from there only. What is happened last past year and the decisions that have taken from Twitter, according from by Elon Musk obviously and his team, about what Twitter is going to be, is much more polarizing. You can say, like, it divides people, like decisions. Like, Elon believes in free speech, but on technically on paper it's really good. You can't deny it. But what happens on the internet when you give people just a free pass to speak whatever they have, to post whatever they want, is becomes much more toxic. That is where it becomes much more polarizing, and people were not happy with that decision. So it's like, you can say, 50-50. Majority of the people were not liking it, but most of the people also on the other side were like much more satisfied with that decision. Then there are a couple of decisions were taken now here and there, like people need to pay to have a blue tick. People need to pay. People need to pay for specific functions, or like these kind of things. Okay, this is the leading up process. Now it doesn't much become much more kind of an you can say a hateful thing, but to this, for past 6 months, you can say, it has become much more kind of an polarizing thing than ever. The reason being is because the political views getting involved in it. Before, when Elon Musk was posting, when Elon Musk was, you know, getting doing these specific updates, or giving this much more kind of an, you know, the updates that are being polarized in even in the user base of Twitter. Some people are loving, some people are not. It was okay till then, but what happened later is getting involved into the politics of the US 2024 election. So it started 6 months ago when Elon Musk started supporting Donald Trump specifically, and obviously whenever there is politics involved, there are obviously 50-50 people there. People there who support this party, that party. Okay, like, it doesn't, we don't have to get involved in that, but yeah, it is much more political than you think. What happened in the last couple of months, like especially last 2 months in the election time, Elon Musk openly supported Donald Trump, which is not bad. Obviously, you can post, you can think like whatever you want, obviously on the on an on a social media, or who are supporting. the the much more kind of an difficult, like you can say, the side effect of it was, he was also spreading much more kind of an misinformation throughout the post, and not much kind of an interpreting what can be, you know, you can say, like, he was posting stuff about supporting Donald Trump, but there in politics it is not that simple, right? This right, this wrong. And what happened in that situation, whole situation, is that lots of misinformation was also conveyed through him. It's not that he had given misinformation, also lots of misinformation too. So what happens in that period of time is that he has a majority of followers, that is more than, I think he's the most followed man, like person on Twitter, that is more than 200 million. It does influence people, it does influence that wrong information is conveyed to those lots of users on a platform. Just imagine on Instagram, like let's say the majority of like people, like accounts that have hundreds of millions of followers, posting misinformation upon on their accounts about something, and especially about politics. That is way too much concerning for the lots of people, obviously. On the people who are not supporting Donald Trump obviously will be getting annoyed by that person, especially Elon Musk spreading misinformation. At the point where it comes much more kind of an really annoying and frustrated is because he owns Twitter. Even though Elon Musk says like community nodes will also come forth and give my, you know, uh, give give me, or like give also community nodes can give anyone, not just me, but like not just everyone but also me, the tag about whatever the information, this means the information I've given, also can correct in the comments. But it's misinformation and misinformation, you know. People don't want facts, especially in the heat of the election. So whatever happens, Donald Trump won, and there were a lot of hate on US, and it is still on going on. Republicans obviously won, Democrats are basically, yeah, lose on this year's election. What became of that is because what happened of that is lots of people were unhappy, and especially lots of people believe that because of Twitter and manipulating posts by Trump, sorry, on by Elon Musk, I think majority of the time on that, especially on the internet, Twitter was obviously biased towards Republicans, and what that led into was people being frustrated and being now been moved to the basically blue sky on the other social media platform, where they can like uh, basically like move to the other platforms like blue sky, where they think where they can have a good, like their not just biases, but also not being involved in Twitter anyway. Elon Musk is one of the major reasons people are moving from Tweet X to blue sky. What happens, you know, when you have such strong points and when you are a kind of a person where you don't want to listen on the other side, or when you are a person where you can see definitely see that there is kind of a biasness towards on your platform, yeah, and you are kind of a man with 200 million followers who are communicating towards his follower, and even though you know some of the information, you know that it is not that simple. It's your responsibility as a not just an user and having that kind of an influence of so many millions of people, or even having to the point having that even to the point having uh, owns and platform. It's much more, you know, gets people will definitely find suspicious, people will definitely find it way too much suspicious, and definitely will uh, and that is one of the reason why I think people are deporting from X to blue sky. Because okay, I don't know how much kind of an a, a cultural thing was on Twitter before Elon Musk, you know. And I can say from the experiences people have told me that before Elon Musk, it was not kind of a sane place too. You know, it was not kind of an, like, it was already a toxic place. People were really really toxic. The reason why the Twitter is now hateful towards one person is just because people know he owns it, he has much more kind of an influence, and he's obviously gives sometimes misinformation and like just randomly tweets. And he needs to understand, people say that he needs, and I also thinks that he needs to understand his responsibility as conveying post about so many millions of people. Okay, so that is what I believe led people hated towards not just even the platform, but hating it towards a person. What happens, you know, when people hate person, not a platform, and you have to be much more kind of an uh, as a user, you think like, especially when you are from the opposite side, you will definitely feel frustrated. And from this situation, what is happening, like people are saying now that it has become much more toxic. People are saying it has become much more worse experience on Twitter. People are not getting what kind of post they really want to see. People are getting pushed by the political post even they don't want to see, just because. Yeah, so the experience is getting just horrible. The app is not well optimized. Like the ad system, the ads are getting much more kind of an, I don't know why so many ads have also become much more uh, uh, integral part, even to the point where I'm seeing, like I also tweeted about this like 6 7 months ago, where ads started giving for, I am seeing a 15-second ad on a 60 seconds shorts, you know, just imagine that. So it has become kind of an horrible experience. People who don't have obviously the blue mark, you know, where people don't buy blue mark. So the situation is getting worse and worse. And what happens, you know, when you make so this kind of bold decisions and don't listen to people, it leads to the divide. So you will not be having majority of the audience, but what will you have? You will have half the audience, which will you will have half of the audience which will support you always. It is kind of an cult thing, you know. And that is what I think, that he is getting attraction on the Twitter now. Oh, sorry, on the X, because majority of the people who are on X, sorry, the like what what a good social media or a good platform means is like hearing from all the people and giving the updates what they want, and having a mutual understanding between the user, like on from the platform and you. And that is what I think the Elon Musk lacks here, and his whole team on Twitter is there. Because if he doesn't follow rules, he will get definitely like this year's Brazil situation was crazy. The Twitter, like X, is banned on Brazil this year. Yeah. And just because you didn't like mutually understand or understood what could have happened, like even just because you didn't try to solve it on your own, now the people in Brazil can't use X, and now they have also deported towards blue sky. People don't care. People want a platform, and that's what blue sky is providing, you know, where it is new. What happens when a new social media gets in so many attraction, because they can create their own culture there, you know. Because you can't change the culture of Twitter, you know, the toxic and the hateful comments or some cultural things, sorry, that has been doing for the past 10 years. But same on here, blue sky, they can create their own culture, and they can create their own communities there too from the start, because it's a new social media. But why not threads? It's just ultimately there is Zuckerberg's platform. People obviously hate also Zuckerberg, but compared to Elon Musk, Zuckerberg is kind of a mutual understanding person who at least sees other people and knows what is best for his platform, not best for his interest. You know, just because he supports someone, just because he uh, he ultimately, I have seen Zuckerberg much more kind of a guy who will go forth and do what is good for the platform, you know, and its users ultimately. So that's why they have, even though there are so many slow updates, so many not rapid things going on the threads and Instagram, but they are slowly moving towards it. They have created one of the most biggest platform, that is Instagram now. Yeah, from what it was to now it was, even though lots of people hate it, it has generated lots of billions of, not just like lots of economical conditions, good condition for lots of people, lots of businesses. So what I'm trying to say here is polarization is one of the great reasons why people have been deported, and it was around that, like it was about to happen. It was much, much, it was not a kind of a big deal if you're not following the events. You know, it was about to happen that people will be get deported, sorry, people will be get uh, from one, like from Twitter, where from X, where they're not having that whatever they want, and they will definitely go towards the platform like Blue Sky, even Threads. What I'm trying to say here is, if Elon Musk doesn't make it right, and rather than polarizing with his decisions, have a mutual understanding what people want, how he can improvise its platform, it will be much more good. Because lots of stuff that Elon Musk on and on his platform, that are much first decision he has taken for the past even year that I have been on the Twitter. You know, I have been more than 1 year on Twitter, and you know, I don't know what the heck was about before Elon Musk, how Twitter was. I don't care about it, but now, yeah, I don't like the decisions, some of the decisions that they have taken, and that is why their decisions have led to this one. You know, and I will definitely make an podcast or even on newsletter. I will talk about it in future about couple of decisions and horrible decisions that have that has led to this situation, and will definitely get low user in future if they don't do something about it. Yeah, because I don't think polarizing people, people and group, like you know, with your own decision, with your, you know, outcoming of four, will help you, you know, and will help the platform. So I hope they make a good decision further, because that's what Blue Sky is providing. What Blue Sky is providing there is custom, like I said before, like with custom feeds, it is providing much kind of an close community feeling, where people can create their own culture things. So I hope, that people uh, on X who are working, and also Elon Musk gets what is wrong and why people are deporting it, rather why people are going from his own platform X to Blue Sky, and just gets um, rather than trolling people on, you know, basically on his platform, just posting about it and tweeting about it, you know, why people are leaving and trolling them. You should start working on why people are leaving and what is wrong with my app, you know. So I hope it gets just, I think this was whole my take, you know. I will try to provide one much more evidence, in not much more evidence, like whatever I can find research around it, whatever I have said on the description down below. But yeah, that's it for today's episode of the Tech Guy podcast. I think, yeah, it was much more smaller, only two topics we discussed this week. But yeah, we will talk about what's going on with Google, and about it on the next week, that is much more important. And also obviously the social media bill passed in Australia. So this is it for this week episode of the Tech Guy podcast. hope you guys see you. I hope I this is it for this week. This is it for this week for the Tech Guy podcast episode. I hope you guys see you in the next week. See you.